powers must act together because if we're not at the table, we're on the menu.
Somewhere Europe has to grow out of the mindset that Europe's problems are the world's problems, but the world's problems are not Europe's problems.
चुन चुन करके हिसाब लेना ये मेरी फितरत है.
Why should it be a problem if I'm smart enough to have multiple options? You should be admiring me.
भारत झुकने वाला भी नहीं.
The rise of India will be determined by India. It will be determined by our strength, not by the mistakes of others.
The old order is not coming back. We shouldn't mourn it. Nostalgia is not a strategy.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Now there's a very hot information that is going on, and I'm not here to talk about that hot information as such. There are lots of other experts and people who talk about those things, but the news is that Iran war MOU has been signed, when actually it was supposed to be signed in the Switzerland, but President Trump signed it during the G7 meeting at the dinner in Versailles. Now, so the question really is, what is going on? So stay with me till the end. Please do like and subscribe. Let's get going. Let's talk about this whole thing as to what is going on. Okay. And here is my slide real quick. So, part of the deal. Why Trump had to make a deal with Iran? See, in my videos from the get-go, as I said this, that the old order is dead. The game is over. Scene will be that Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, all these countries, their economy will be in shambles for at least next 4 or 5 years or whatever. And if not, then Israel will ensure that it stays that way. Then comes Iran. Iran will be one way or the other. Sanctions will be removed from Iran, and Iran will be brought into fold of the Western alliance or the grouping. Western grouping, or in India's fold, basically India and Israel's fold. And you will see that thing that Bibi Netanyahu may be saying all these hard things that we will do this, we will do that to Iran. But ultimately, I'm telling you this thing right here on the record right here, that Israel and Iran will come to very good terms. Chances are that's going to happen through Abraham Accords. Okay, that's going to happen. Mark my words. So it's going to happen, but certain things take some time. Okay, political atmosphere will have to be made for that. But first, let's get back to my slide and let's see what exactly happened. So what happened is this. As you can see in the slide, US President Donald Trump says that past 2 days have provided a chance to discuss the details of historic agreement. And so the historic agreement with many of our closest friends and allies, including G7 nations and many presidents and prime ministers. As you saw, Prime Minister Modi was here. We had a long talk. He's a great guy. They're thrilled that we made a deal, every one of them. There's not one nation that came to us and said, please, sir, keep dropping bombs on them. Please keep dropping bombs. Stupid people say that. I think stupid is something that Trump and Trump's administration uses this word a lot. But you can see in this picture here, 3 stupids right there, 3 idiots standing. Anyways, now President Trump, then Emmanuel Macron also made this official that President Trump signed tonight at Versailles the agreement between Iran and United States. The agreement paves the way for lasting peace and allows reopening of Strait of Hormuz. It is an important step in right direction for our compatriots that will soon enable a decrease in energy prices. But here's the thing, guys. Okay, energy prices are going to come down, though. Energy prices are not going to come down. Why is that? Because The insurance company will have to recover its money. Either it goes bankrupt or they will have to recover the money one way or the other. Okay, so that's another factor. So it's not going to rise, but it's not going to come down rapidly. Okay, so there will be things, so you have to understand that part. Okay, now let's go to the next thing. Now you can see here, this is the official MOU paper that was signed, and you can go read on White House website. It's there. So I'm just gonna go with a little bit faster, okay, so that it doesn't take forever. So US and Iran and their allies in the current war, by signing this MOU, declare the immediate and permanent termination of military operation on all fronts, including Lebanon. Undertake from now on not to initiate any war or any military operation against each other, and to refrain from threat or use of force against each other, and ensuring the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Lebanon. This was being said after bombing Iran and killing their leader. If you had to sign the peace deal, then why go and bomb and kill? You could have easily negotiated these things from the get go, like Obama did. Anyways, now US and Iran will respect each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity and refrain from interfering in each other's internal affairs. What does that even mean? Internal affairs, will they're not going to do internal affair, meaning the regime change part, okay, the one of those objectives. So here all of a sudden they're going to respect sovereignty. Okay, America is going to respect sovereignty all of a sudden. Anyways, US and Iran commit to achieving the final deal in a maximum of 60 days, extendable with mutual consent. So 60 days, they're saying that thing, okay, after 2 months we will talk about other things and this and that. US will immediately begin the removal of its naval blockade and any disturbances or impediments against Iran, and will fully end the naval blockade within 30 days. During this period, the traffic will be in proportion to the number of pre-war traffic being restored by Iran. The US further undertakes to remove military forces from proximity of Iran within 30 days after the final deal. So President Trump was looking to save the face. So this is another way of doing it. Okay. Now let's move a little bit further. Now what's going on here? Iran will make arrangement for safe passages for commercial vehicles. All that good stuff is there. The traffic of commercial vessels will immediately start. So traffic commercial vessels will start. Iran will conduct a dialogue with Oman to define the future administration and maritime services in the Strait of Hormuz, in discussion with other Persian Gulf littoral states, in line with international law and sovereign rights of coastal states of Strait of Hormuz. Basically what they're saying is that Iran can apply toll and all that, or whatever they want to do. So this will open a Pandora's box. Why is that? Because in that situation, then India and Indonesia and all these countries can start to apply toll in the Strait of Malacca and all that too. So meaning that anyone who is around there just go and apply tolls. So we will see. We will have to see. But the talk is that Iran and Oman can apply tolls. And if that happens, then world is going to find another route, and Iran's whole entire dream will collapse, and the Middle Eastern dream of selling oil and all that will collapse. Okay, well, but let's not say the collapse, but world will find another way. Okay, or you can say that this thing enables US to, this will help actually US and the Western Hemisphere, because the oil and natural gas traffic is eventually gonna be that diverted to the Western Hemisphere to grab all that. Okay, so now let's see. The US undertakes with its regional partners to develop a definitive mutual agreed plan, at least US 300 billion, for the reconstruction and economic development of Iran as part of the final deals. After 60 days, all required licenses, waivers, and permissions will be granted. Rebuilding. Now, this whole rebuilding is, I think that in President Trump's own interest and his buddy Witkoff. So, and then here's the irony of this whole thing, that President Trump, he criticized President Obama for all these things. Oh, he gave $1.2 billion, loads and loads of money was being sent to Iran and this and that. But this is what's happening. Okay, now, uh, now let's look into some more things real quick. Okay, so US will terminate all types of sanctions against the Islamic Republic of Iran, including UNSC resolutions, IAEA, Board of Governors resolution, and all unilateral US sanctions, primary and secondary, in an agreed upon uh, schedule as part of final deal. So what's happening is the sanctions on Iran will be removed. Not all of them, but I think lots of sanctions will be removed, which means that it will enable Iran to trade. Now, all this, let's move further and then I will tell you the real story exactly. Okay. So now, so after all that was signed and done, the President Trump says that, okay, President, this we have to that on what the difference between Iran US dollars and unfreezing US dollars. Okay, giving Iran US dollars and unfreezing US dollars. The whole Obama and Trump thing, that was the question that was asked by a reporter. So what President Trump is saying is this: we have taken a lot of their money and we froze it. At a certain point in time, I guess we are going to have to give it back. If we didn't give it back, nobody would ever invest in the dollar again. If you do that, you really don't have a system. I think man has a point. At least I give him that. He understands this thing, what I've been saying it for past 3-4 years straight, that you cannot apply sanctions. When you apply sanctions, it hurts the US economy no matter what. Okay, so removing sanctions on Iran, so that means that it should be applied to Russians as well. And why that is, I will tell you. Now, on the other side, you notice that Russia welcomes US-Iran memorandum after high level talks. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi briefed Sergei Lavrov on the US-Iran memorandum, and according to Iran's foreign ministry, the two also discussed bilateral ties, with Russia expressing support for the document. So now he calls Russia and tells them. That means that there were things that were going on behind the scenes. Now pay attention to what I'm just saying, okay? Abbas Araghchi briefed Russians. Now, so here's the key. Now this is where it gets interesting. That US President Donald Trump says that yesterday morning we had a productive conversation on the war in Ukraine. I spoke with President Putin. I spoke with President Zelensky, and he was there. Zelensky was present in G7. And even though nobody was talking to him, but he was there to show his face so that he can beg for some money here and there. Anyways, President Putin and I spoke over the phone with and some things going to happen. They are losing a lot of people, a lot of soldiers. Losing soldiers, both are losing a lot. Russia's losing more because they are offensive ones, and when you are offensive in war, you lose more. So basically, he's using word Russia, but he's justifying his own thing, that we were on the offensive, so we lost. That's what basically he's saying. Okay, in other words, but the key here is this. Key is that President Trump called President Putin. They had the conversation. And earlier you saw that Araghchi also called Russian Foreign Ministry. So there was this discussion. Otherwise, why President of the United States will call President Putin over the Iran deal, unless they were in talks behind the scenes already. So that's what exactly happened, okay? Now, I provided an update on my call Sunday with President Putin and expressed my continued hope. Basically, he had called Sunday because Monday he had to leave for G7. And he called Sunday and told him that, hey, we are going to sign the deal. So please make sure that Iranians sign the deal too. That's exactly what happened. So Iranians, after signing the deal, they called Russians. They told them that, hey, we signed it and we are good to go. So, and we had a very good conversation with President Putin and a very good conversation with President Zelensky. I think they both want to do something. They just don't know how to do it. They want to do it. They just don't know how. So all this was there. If they don't know how and they both want to do it, then how do you know all those things? The point is very simple, that they know something is going on, something is brewing on that front too. Why? Because US, you see, European Union is also tired of dealing with America's unwanted wars. Okay, this is happening, and European Union is saying, and they said this thing in the World Economic Forum meeting very clearly, that hey, we are done with you. The whole old order, we are not going to follow all that. We are going to take care of our own security. So please do something about it, and let's take care of this. Now, why some of you like, hey, Europe is the one right now supporting Ukraine, then why they want US to be involved in this thing? See, the thing is that sanctions came from US and then came from Europe, right? All that is going on. So because of that, they have to involve. They just cannot go and sideline. That's the whole point, right? You're doing diplomacy, guys. Okay, we're not here like, okay, let's hate. That's not the case. I'm saying, wording it in a different way to make things simple for you to understand. But ultimately, what's going on is that Europe is going to be another pole in the multipolar world. European Union is preparing for it already. They have signed lots of defense agreement with India. So they are going to provide the net security on in the Mediterranean side. India is going to provide the net security in the Indian Ocean up to all the way to the Gulf of Aden. And Iran, UAE, Oman, all these, they are gonna be probably handling some part of the Persian Gulf. But at the end of the day, Indian Navy will be there too, because India already has a naval base in the in Oman. So coming back to this, so there has been a discussion on this, okay, between President Putin. That's that. Now, next thing. So then President Trump, being President Trump, he had to, say some few bragging things, that possibility of Iran stockpiling uraniums and US military surveillance technology is so advanced that personnel can identify individuals and monitor activity with remarkable precision. If somebody walks in and he's got a badge with his name on it, like Muhammad something, which is about 50-50, give Muhammad something, they can tell the name, they can give you a serial number, we can see things you wouldn't believe. but see, the point here is, he's saying all this, but he may be talking about how good the surveillance and all that is. But if that is the case, then how did you miss all the Iranian missile silos and all that? Clearly something is not good, something is missing. And I made this video on why actually US lost the war with Iran. There are reasons. It has nothing to do with Iran, quite frankly, and I made a video on that. Please do go and check it out. Okay, now let's move forward. And here you can see, one second, there you go. As you can see that Pezeshkian, he is signing the MOU. You can see that President Trump's signature are here, and Pezeshkian has signed it too. And Masoud Pezeshkian, he is showing the full thing here as you can see. And all this Chinese and Russians and Chinese and Indians, they all knew about it. It's not like this was happening in isolation. Yeah, Pakistan and others who were there to so-called make the deal, but lots of all the big players knew about it. Okay, and I knew it, that it's gonna happen in the G7. Okay, when they were saying the Switzerland and all that, I think in my last video I said this thing already, that he's going in G7 and he's announcing all these things right before the G7, because there is lots and lots of pressure, because old world order is dead, it's gone, pecan. Okay, now, and then comes the big daddy, the person who actually started the war, the country who wanted Iran to be gone. Okay, and that is Israel. Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu, Benjamin Netanyahu, at press conference last night. So he made a long speech. I'm not going to read all this speech. All I will tell you is this: dear citizens of Israel, for decades I have been fighting against Iran's effort to arm itself with nuclear weapons. I can define it as my life's mission. I have met this challenge to this day, and I will continue to meet it in the future with an agreement, without an agreement. Iran will not have nuclear weapons. Not today, not tomorrow. As long as I am Prime Minister of Israel, this will not happen. Well, in that case, then it seems like Bibi Netanyahu's term is coming to an end. After this, chances are that his term will come to an end. So here's the thing. Now let me explain you what exactly happened with the Iran war. What was going on? War? What was panicking? What panicked Bibi Netanyahu? And I'm gonna connect all the dots for you real quick. Okay. See, there was a corridor, or you can say trade corridor, that started from Tehran and it passed through Iraq, then through Syria, and ended in Syria's only naval port, Syria's port. And from that port, there were tunnels that were going in Lebanon, and from the Lebanon, there were tunnels that were going into Gaza. And that's how Hamas was getting their help. Okay. This is why, first thing first that was done was that, first of all, end Abbas. What was his name? Syrian president. I can't remember his name. Assad, sorry. So now, him being gone, that he was the only Shia guy. Him being gone, Syria was no longer influenced by Iran. And that corridor was called, or is called, or was called Iranian corridor, or you can, it was, another name was Shia Crescent corridor. Okay, Shia Crescent corridor. It passed through all the Shia countries, through Iraq and all that. Okay, and I'm gonna keep it short. Now, once Syria was gone, so why Syria has to go, and why Bibi Netanyahu was so hell bent on going towards Damascus? See, the 6 Day War back in the day, when 6 Day War started, then 6 Day War started on one thing, because of one problem, and that is water. Okay, there's one source of natural water. Sorry, one source of the sweet water, you can say fresh water. That is Mount Hermon. That's the only source in that region. That Mount Hermon, the river Litany, it comes from the Mount Hermon, flows through Lebanon, through Israel, and then goes all the way into Jordan. All right. So Syrians, back in the day when the 6 Day War happened, they wanted to poison that source of water so that Israelis or Jewish, they can drink that water and they all can die. That was their grand plan. And that was the day. And to this day, Israel has always wanted to take that under control, simply so that Mount Hermon is under Israeli control. So that's another story. This is why Netanyahu, or Bibi Netanyahu, Prime Minister Netanyahu, has been wanting to go past the Litany River. Otherwise, before the Litany River was the buffer zone. That was the buffer zone. But he has crossed that buffer zone on the other side of the Litany River. That's why he wanted to enter Lebanon, so that he can actually control the one side, whole entire side of the Litany River for himself, for Israel. That's the whole idea. Okay, so from the get-go, it has been all about water, and this is how Iran was actually helping Hamas through that Shia Crescent corridor. Okay, it was a trade corridor. Now, China's interest in this was because China wanted to get into Mediterranean through Kazakhstan, through Tehran, and then into Mediterranean. And this way, China can actually invest into BRI and all that. Now, Europe doesn't want BRI. Americans don't want BRI to succeed through Iran and all that. So the mess in the Iran was sooner or later to be made. And as I have explained in my videos in the past, that the whole blockade here, blockade in Hormuz, and then blockade and all that nonsense that was done in Panama Canal, then in Venezuela and all, was done to create a ground to negotiate with Chinese. That we can actually, message was, we can actually destroy your supply chains and it's gonna hurt your economy and all that. But and sooner, and you saw the effect in the Hormuz, and you saw the impact of it. Okay, now at the end of it all, if you don't understand or if you have doubts, then you have to understand this, that dependencies of any system, okay, dependencies in any systems are always crucial. No war can sort out those dependencies. In this case, Hormuz remained indispensable, and then global energy markets, they became nervous because of all this, and that created even more problem, and it panicked the European Union. Why? Because European Union was already under panic because of what? Because of Russia Ukraine war. So they couldn't handle any further. Okay, and the whole entire deal, the whole IMEC, okay, the IMEC, which is India, Middle East, Europe corridor. This is the backbone of everything. Okay, this is the backbone for to counter China's BRI. This is the backbone to the manufacturing and then trade between Europe and India and other countries in the Indian Ocean region and the African countries and all. Next development cycle that you're gonna see is gonna happen in Africa, and IMEC will have a very big role to play in that. Okay, so IMEC basically turned Middle East economic stability into G7's economic interest. That's what happened. Okay, now if you go into what all this means, I wrote it down because so that we don't have to drag the video, right? So Hormuz defeated escalation. Hormuz stayed where it was, right? So war could continue militarily, but global economy could not absorb a Strait of Hormuz crisis, at least not in the short term. Then G7 became the pressure room. President Trump saw the result of all this 2 years ago when he ran away from the G7. Then America moved from punishment to restoration. The MOU basically simply is that what? It's like, okay, let's repair it. We are going to restore and this and that. How much of it will be done? We don't know. Okay. We don't know that. How much of it will be done, but at least it's on paper, right? Now, Iran proved its leverage without needing victory. And this answers my age-long question as to why America never attacked Iran. 47 years they have tried this. They sanctioned, they did all kinds of stuff, but not a single country ever dared to attack Iran. Why is that? That's the question. And now we know the answer to that question. The outcome of it was going to simply end whatever that existed. Okay. Now, then comes India matters. Of course, India matters. That's why India was there in the G7. And these games were being played by the four great powers, the negotiation tactics, all the things were being applied. And then when it comes to other things, that IMEC in itself is the foundation of IMEC was laid in India. So IMEC between Europe and India, I think that IMEC is what will define how this whole thing is gonna play out. Certain players like Turkey Saudis, then Pakistan. Pakistan is actually next, to be honest. These players, over the period of time, I think you're gonna see they will become dormant. Okay, why? Because the moment US moves out, then Pakistanis will try to provide the net security to Saudis. Okay, why is that? See, Saudis, it's a kingdom, so anybody can whack them and then take the whole entire charge of the empire. That's how the kingdoms run. That's the system. Okay. So they are very cautious about it. So they never allow their own security or say intelligence to handle their things. They always hire somebody from outside. So it was US and Pakistan that were doing it. And so Pakistan will try to do this thing for Saudis, and now what's going to happen is chances are that UAE is going to handle its own, because UAE Saudis, they don't get along, but India and UAE will actually enhance their defense pact. The moment this happens, Israel and India's defense pact is going to get enhanced too. Now at that point, Iran will have the choice either to join this club or be on the loser side. And it's highly likely in a way. In fact, if Iran joins the Abraham Accord and doesn't want to get bombed again, then they're going to join Abraham Accord and they're gonna fall in line. Okay, so that's how this whole thing is gonna eventually play out. This was the phase 4, and phase 5 will be the start of IMEC. Now, what exactly Israel gets out of this whole thing? Israel gets the tactical victory, but the system forces the strategic compromise. According, like I said earlier, that Israel is now claiming that their primary goal was to stop Iran from having nukes. Iran never had nukes actually. Iran had uranium, and they could have actually converted that uranium into a dirty bomb if not. And they had enough to. It takes at least 80% enrichment in order to have a nuclear weapon or nuclear bomb that has the yield of the one that was dropped in Japan. Okay, 80% in enrichment. So I don't know with 60% how much, what will be the yield and all, and how because less it is enriched, more energy it takes to break the nucleus. So that's what it all comes down to. All right. Now, so what all this means is, at the end of the day, the whole MOU, all this saga was done so that President Trump can get out of this whole thing and save the face. Now US Pacific Command has changed, removed Indo from it, and now they went back to US Pacific Command. So they are not calling it the US Indo Pacific Command or something. That's gone. And I made a video on that. So go do check it out, because the way I'm looking at it, the deal with China has always been about Taiwan. And I don't know how China is going to, but China is not going to attack Taiwan. I think that China will become more and more, China will infiltrate into Taiwan slowly and slowly. And probably the opposition party in Taiwan, they are pro-China. So China's goal will be to rig the election and let the opposition party win, that is pro-China. And then after that, they're going to sign some sort of merger agreement or something. And then the both countries will follow the same constitution. That's all it all comes down to. Okay. And there is that for this whole entire thing. At the end of the day, if MOU holds, things move forward, only time will tell what happens. But so far it looks like that it was a major victory for Iran. They got sanctions. Now they're getting the full control of Strait of Hormuz. And so lots of the game is there. Okay. So this is it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. You learned something. Please do like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys in another video.